Welcome to your Thursday shipper update. I'm joined by our market expert, Anthony Smith. Really interesting stuff today. What do you have for us?
So Kyle, today we're looking at reefer outbound tender rejections and industrial production for non-durable goods within the manufacturing sector. And so real quick, when we're talking about industrial production, the most recent numbers were a little bit of a good news. We saw, I think it was about a 0.5 increase on a month-to-month basis, but the big takeaway here is that it's still below the year-ago levels. But within that, we have the non-durable goods sector, which has, as you can see, pretty good implications for reefer outbound tender rejection. So in the green line here, we have the industrial goods, industrial production for non-durable goods, and in the orange line here, we have the reefer outbound tender rejections.
That's amazing. And so is this, the non-durable goods, is that taking into account basically anything that would go inside a refrigerated truck?
So there is a few things that would go into a refrigerated truck, but there are a few things that wouldn't. So one of the obvious things I think are anything that has a shelf life of 3 years or less.
Okay.
So that's going to include food, beverages, and we're looking at rubbers and plastics. It's going to kind of take a little bit of a hit to those raw materials that get put into those final goods, things like tires and things like that. So when we're looking at seasonality, we're looking at the raw materials, that's going to get captured in there, and that's where we're going to see some activity here for reefer outbound tender rejections.
It's very interesting. So do you look at the reefer outbound rejections as a leading indicator for this yellow line here, the non-durable goods?
Exactly. So when we're looking at where capacity is really starting to tighten up, because this is a month-to-month indicator for when we're looking at industrial production, we can kind of get an insight of what's happening with the tender rejections a little bit ahead of time before these releases happen. I think the last time I was on here, I was talking about the producer price index, and we saw some nice increases for the refrigerated outbound tender rejections. That's really telling us that capacity is tightening, and that really has that nice correlation when we look at the PPI. And now we see the same type of correlation here with the non-durable goods for industrial production. But I think the biggest point here is that there's going to be an uphill battle because there's still trade tensions, there's still uncertainties. Businesses are going to be a little bit reluctant to or hesitant to invest overseas or really going to have that wait and see attitude. So I'm looking at cautiously optimistic. We're still having downward movement with the purchasing managers index, so we still have a few things that have putting a bit of a block on overall industrial production and manufacturing as a whole.
It's a really interesting correlation right here to see the reefer outbound rejections have this little spike back up before they generally take a big trend down. I mean, that's July 4th, so what else can you expect?
Exactly.
As always, thanks so much to Anthony Smith for joining us today. We'll see you all tomorrow.